Let me start with a statement that will probably upset a lot of people. A woman doesn't miss you because of who you are. She misses you because of how she feels when you're not around. That's it. No magic, no mystery. And here's the real kicker. Even if she's not interested in you right now, she can be made to feel your absence in a way that keeps her thinking about you when you're gone. This goes against what most men are told. Society keeps telling you, just be yourself. If she doesn't like you, move on. Sounds nice, right? But here's the problem. That advice keeps men average. It keeps you invisible. Because the truth is, women don't miss the guy who's always available, always chasing, always proving his worth. They miss the man who flips the script, the man who understands psychology, not cliches. Now, let's be controversial. If you think love and attraction are purely about honesty, effort, and being a nice guy, you've already lost. Attraction isn't fair. It doesn't follow your logic. It follows emotions, and emotions are triggered by the unexpected. That's why the guy who ignores her sometimes gets more attention than the guy who pours his whole heart out every day. Harsh? Yes, but real. Think about it. Why do people suddenly crave junk food when they know it's bad for them? Why do we sometimes miss people who weren't even that good to us? It's because of scarcity, unpredictability, and the way our brains are wired to want what we can't fully have. If you can apply this same principle to the way you interact with women, you instantly shift from being forgettable to being unshakable in her mind. And let me make something crystal clear. This isn't about manipulation, nor is it about turning yourself into a cold-hearted player. This is about understanding reality. It's about recognizing that if you act like every other man, you'll be treated like every other man, disposable. Women don't miss disposable men. They miss the ones who create an impact. Here's where most men mess up. They think effort equals attraction. They believe texting her all the time will make her like them. They believe buying her gifts will win her over. They believe constant attention will prove their value. Wrong. Effort without strategy is desperation, and desperation is never attractive. So let's turn the tables. Imagine for a second that instead of trying to impress her, you shifted the focus. Imagine if your absence spoke louder than your presence. Imagine if she started to wonder why you weren't chasing, why you weren't begging for attention like the rest of the guys in her inbox. That curiosity, that sudden silence, is what plants the seed of missing you. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Women are attracted to mystery far more than they are to clarity. The moment she knows exactly where you stand, the moment she knows you'll always be there no matter what, you stop being exciting. You become predictable. And predictable men don't get missed. They get ignored. Now, I know some men will hear this and get defensive, but I don't want to play games. I just want to be genuine. And that's fine. But let's be honest with ourselves. Being genuine has left millions of men lonely, frustrated, and confused. Being genuine without strategy is like playing chess without knowing the rules. You'll keep losing pieces without understanding why. Here's the bold reality. If you want any woman, even one who's not interested, to miss you, you have to stop acting like you're grateful just for her attention. You need to create a version of yourself that is worth being missed. That means discipline. That means pulling back sometimes. That means showing her that your life doesn't orbit around her existence. Because here's what happens when you get this right. She starts asking questions. Why hasn't he called me? Why doesn't he seem so interested anymore? What is he doing when he's not talking to me? That curiosity turns into interest. Interest turns into thought. Thought turns into missing you. And the beauty of it? It works whether she's your girlfriend, someone you just met, or even a woman who brushed you off before. The power isn't in forcing her to like you. The power is in making her feel your absence, because absence creates value. So, as we go deeper into this video, I'm going to break down exactly how you can do this in a way that is simple, strategic, and real. No manipulative tricks, no cheesy pickup lines, just pure psychology, discipline, and presence. By the end, you'll understand why some men are forgotten instantly, while others stay burned into a woman's memory, long after the conversation ends. And let me warn you right now, this is going to sound uncomfortable, because I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you the truth. The truth most men avoid because it hurts their ego. The truth that women will never say out loud because they love the game too much. But if you stick with me and if you apply what I'm about to teach, you'll never again find yourself begging for attention, chasing someone who doesn't care, or wondering why she disappeared. Instead, you'll have the power to flip the script, to make her realize your absence feels heavier than the presence of all the other men combined. That's the introduction. That's the setup. Now let's move into the real strategies, the 3 steps that will make any woman miss you, even if she swears she's not interested. Stop chasing, start ignoring. Here's a truth most men don't want to accept. The more you chase a woman, the less she values you. That might sting, but it's reality. When you chase, you place her on a pedestal, and in her mind, that immediately puts you below her. She becomes the prize. You become the contestant. And the more you compete, the less interesting you become. Now think about how most men behave when they like a woman. They text constantly. They check in too often. They say yes to everything. They rearrange their schedules just to be available. At first it seems sweet, but very quickly it becomes suffocating. It's not confidence. It's desperation disguised as effort, and desperation always kills attraction. The problem is simple. Chasing comes from fear. Fear of losing her, fear of being forgotten, fear of another man stepping in. But that fear is exactly what drives her away. She doesn't see a strong, desirable man. She sees someone who's scared to lose what he never even had. And nobody misses a man who's always clinging to them. So what's the solution? It's simple, but it takes discipline. You stop chasing, you pull back, you give her space. Instead of flooding her with attention, you show restraint. Instead of proving yourself, you let silence speak. This doesn't mean you're rude, cold, or dismissive. It means you stop acting like her time and attention are the center of your world. Let me be blunt. Women are used to being chased. It happens every day. Messages flood their phones, compliments crowd their social media, and men line up hoping for a chance. When you act like one of those men, you disappear into the noise. But when you stop chasing, you break the pattern. You stand out, and in that silence, in that pause, she starts to notice you differently. Here's where it gets controversial. Ignoring her sometimes is more powerful than giving her attention all the time. Why? Because attention that's constant becomes boring, but attention that's rare feels valuable. Think about diamonds. They're not special because they're shiny. They're special because they're rare. If everyone had one, nobody would care. The same principle applies here. When you stop chasing, you instantly become more valuable because you're not handing yourself out like a free sample. Now let's bring this down to earth with a scenario you can picture. Imagine 2 men talking to the same woman. The first guy texts her every morning, "Good morning, beautiful." He likes all her posts. He never misses a chance to remind her how much he's interested. At first, she's flattered, but soon she knows exactly what to expect. His attention is guaranteed, and because it's guaranteed, it loses its weight. She doesn't miss him because he never gives her a chance to. The second guy, he talks to her, but he doesn't chase. He doesn't send a good morning text every day. Sometimes he replies hours later, not because he's playing a game, but because he actually has other things going on. He's polite, but he doesn't beg for attention. He's interested, but not desperate. Slowly, she starts to notice his absence. She wonders why he's not always around. She thinks about him more. That curiosity grows, and that's the difference. Which man do you think she'll miss? The one who's always there, predictable, easy to reach, or the one who gave her a taste of attention and then stepped back, creating space for her to crave more? Men get this wrong because they think love and attraction are about constant presence. But the truth is, attraction lives in the tension between presence and absence. Too much presence kills the tension. Too much absence kills the connection. But when you stop chasing and balance it with controlled distance, you create the perfect space for her to feel your value. This is where men need to wake up. Chasing doesn't make you strong. It makes you invisible. Ignoring doesn't make you weak. It makes you mysterious. And mystery, not desperation, is what makes you unforgettable. Of course, this requires self-control. It's not easy to resist the urge to text her, to check in, to make sure you're on her mind. But here's the irony. The less you do it, the more likely you'll actually be on her mind. When she doesn't hear from you, her brain fills in the gaps. What's he doing? Who's he with? Why hasn't he reached out? Those questions create emotion, and emotion is the root of missing someone. So here's the mindset shift. You are not her entertainer. You are not her safety net. You are not there to fill every silence in her day. You are a man with your own life, your own goals, your own priorities. If she wants to be part of it, fine. If not, you'll keep moving. That attitude alone creates gravity, and that gravity is what makes her miss you. Remember this, men who chase are forgettable. Men who pull back are missed. The difference isn't luck, it's discipline. Scarcity creates value. Here's a hard truth that most men overlook. What's always available is rarely desired. Think about it. The things you value most in life are never the things you can get at any moment. They're the things that feel rare, difficult to obtain, and worth protecting. The same principle applies when it comes to how women see you. When you're always around, always available, always easy to reach, your presence becomes ordinary, and ordinary doesn't get missed. But when you create scarcity, when you limit your availability, suddenly your presence feels like something worth noticing. Let's make this relatable. Imagine food. When you can get it anytime, it loses its power. You don't crave rice, bread, or water because they're everywhere, but you crave desserts, special meals, or that one dish you only get once in a while. Why? Because it's scarce, because it feels special, because it doesn't come every day. That's exactly how attraction works. Men get this wrong all the time. They confuse availability with loyalty. They think, if I'm always there for her, she'll see how much I care. But here's the reality. Being too available doesn't read as loyalty. It reads as desperation. Loyalty is valuable when it's built on respect. Availability without boundaries feels cheap. You have to understand that people naturally place higher value on what they fear losing. If you're always easy to reach, there's no fear of losing you. If she knows you'll always pick up her call on the first ring, she never wonders if you're busy, if you have options, or if you're living a life worth missing. But when you're scarce, when you're selective with your time, it forces her to realize that your attention is not guaranteed, and that's when it becomes valuable. Here's the uncomfortable part. Men hate creating scarcity because it feels like losing control. You worry, if I don't call her, she'll forget about me. If I don't text back immediately, she'll move on. But the opposite is usually true. Scarcity doesn't push her away. It pulls her closer, because now she has to work to get your attention. And what people work for, they appreciate. Think about the way you treat your own possessions. The more effort you put into getting something, the harder it is to let it go. When it comes too easily, you don't care if it breaks or disappears. Women think the same way about men. If your attention is too easy, it loses its meaning. But if it feels earned, it carries weight. Scarcity also creates curiosity. When you're not always available, she starts to wonder what you're doing, who you're with, and why you're not constantly around. That curiosity is the spark that makes her think about you when you're not there. And that thought, that lingering question, is the root of missing someone. This doesn't mean you should become a ghost or completely ignore her existence. That's not scarcity, that's neglect. Scarcity is about balance. It's about showing her that while you're interested, your life doesn't revolve around her. You're not available 24/7 because you have a mission, goals, and priorities outside of her. And that, ironically, makes you more attractive. Here's where most men struggle. They can't handle the silence. They can't resist filling the gaps. They can't sit comfortably in the space where she's left wondering. But that space is exactly where value is created. If you fill it too quickly, you rob her of the chance to feel your absence. And absence is necessary for desire to grow. Scarcity also signals strength. It tells her you're not desperate. You're not chasing. You're not begging for scraps of her attention. You're living your life, and she can either be part of it or watch from the sidelines. That energy is powerful. That energy makes her realize you're not just another man waiting in line. You're different. You're someone she could lose if she doesn't pay attention. And that's when the tables turn. Instead of you wondering how to make her miss you, she starts to wonder how not to lose you. Instead of you waiting for her to text, she's waiting for your reply. Instead of you trying to prove your worth, she's working to earn your presence. All of this comes from one simple principle: scarcity creates value. The truth is, every man has the power to create scarcity, but few are disciplined enough to do it. Most men can't resist the urge to overinvest. They give too much, too soon, and then wonder why they're taken for granted. But the men who master scarcity, who can step back without fear, are the ones women never forget. Because when you're scarce, your time becomes a treasure, your attention becomes rare, and rare things are always worth more. Control the emotional roller coaster. Here's a wake-up call most men need to hear: you are too predictable. And predictable men don't get missed, they get ignored. Women don't crave constant comfort, they crave emotional impact. If every interaction with you feels the same, flat, and ordinary, then don't be surprised when she forgets about you the moment you're gone. Attraction is not built on routine, it's built on tension, excitement, and yes, a little uncertainty. That's the emotional roller coaster. And unless you learn how to control it, you'll always find yourself playing the role of the safe option instead of the unforgettable one. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean playing cruel games, being manipulative, or intentionally hurting someone. It means understanding that human emotions are wired to respond to contrast. Joy feels stronger after frustration. Relief feels better after tension. Excitement feels more powerful when it's not guaranteed. If you're always flat, always agreeable, always the same, you're robbing her of that contrast. And without contrast, there's no spark. Here's where I criticize men a bit. Too many of you have become afraid of being anything but nice. You think if you avoid conflict, avoid tension, avoid standing your ground, she'll automatically respect and desire you. Wrong. What happens is she sees you as safe, boring, and replaceable. You become the nice guy who's always there, but never chosen. Women don't miss nice guys. They miss the men who make them feel something. Even if that something is frustration one moment and admiration the next, it creates emotional gravity. It makes her remember you. It makes her crave the high after the low. That's the roller coaster. Here's the part that stings. If she never feels strong emotions around you, she'll never think about you when you're not there. You'll be forgotten like background noise. And if you keep living like that, blaming women for not noticing you, you'll never wake up to the reality that it's not about them. It's about how you carry yourself. You have to be willing to set boundaries. You have to be willing to say no. You have to be willing to stand firm in your values, even if it creates tension, because that tension is healthy. That tension is what creates respect, and respect is what keeps you from being disposable. Let me be brutally honest. Too many men have traded strength for comfort. You've convinced yourself that being endlessly agreeable is the path to love. But what you've really done is trained women to see you as background, not the main event. You've removed all the contrast that makes interactions memorable. And then you wonder why she doesn't miss you. Wake up. Attraction isn't built on comfort alone. If you want to be missed, you must leave an emotional mark. That means making her laugh, making her think, sometimes even making her slightly frustrated because you're not bending to her every whim. It's that mix of emotions that sticks in her mind long after you're gone. Think about the people you've missed in your own life. Were they the ones who always gave you exactly what you wanted, exactly when you wanted it? Or were they the ones who challenged you, who surprised you, who made you feel a roller coaster of emotions you couldn't get from anyone else? The answer is obvious, and yet men ignore it when it comes to women. The key is control. You don't let emotions run wild. You don't create chaos. You create balance, a little tension, followed by release, a little distance, followed by warmth, a little unpredictability, followed by consistency. That's how you keep her attention. That's how you make her crave more. That's how you make her miss you. If you refuse to understand this, you'll stay stuck. You'll keep over-investing, over-explaining, and over-chasing, wondering why women keep slipping away. You'll keep blaming them when the truth is simple. You never created the contrast that makes you unforgettable. So here's the challenge. Stop being predictable. Stop being so soft that she never feels anything around you. Stop living as if being comfortable is enough. Start creating impact. Start standing on your values. Start controlling the emotional roller coaster instead of avoiding it. Because in the end, women don't miss the men who were always safe, boring, and predictable. They miss the men who made them feel alive. And until you wake up to that reality, you'll keep being the guy who fades into the background. We've gone through the truth most men avoid. chasing makes you forgettable, scarcity makes you valuable, and emotional control makes you unforgettable. But now I want to end this with something most people won't say out loud, something controversial enough to shake you awake. Here it is. If a woman never misses you, it's because you've given her nothing worth missing. That's not her fault. That's not society's fault. That's yours. Most men are quick to blame women. They'll say, she just doesn't care, or women don't value good men anymore, or she's just distracted by other guys. And while there may be some truth in those excuses, they don't change the reality. If you fade from her mind the second you walk away, it's because you left no emotional impact. And this is where men need to wake up. Women are not obligated to miss you. They don't owe you their attention, their thoughts, or their feelings. You earn it, not by chasing, not by begging, but by carrying yourself like a man who doesn't need validation from anyone. Here's what makes this statement controversial. Most men think the problem is outside of them. They think women today are different. They think society has ruined dating. They think social media is the enemy. But the real enemy is their lack of discipline, their lack of presence, and their fear of stepping into the kind of manhood that actually commands respect. If you're the kind of man who gives too much too soon, who is always available, who avoids any kind of tension because you're afraid she won't like you, then don't be surprised when she doesn't miss you. You've trained her not to. You've shown her that your presence costs nothing, and when something costs nothing, it gets treated like nothing. But the moment you create space, the moment you create scarcity, the moment you control the emotional rhythm instead of drowning her in predictability, that's when she feels it. That's when she notices your absence. That's when she misses you. And let's be real, this isn't about women. It's about you. It's about whether or not you're living a life worth missing. If your entire identity is wrapped up in chasing her, texting her, proving yourself to her, then what happens when she's gone? You have nothing left. That's the core problem. The controversial truth is this: you don't actually want her to miss you. You want her to validate you. And until you separate those two, you'll stay stuck in the same cycle. You'll keep trying tricks, techniques, and strategies to make her think about you, instead of building yourself into a man she naturally can't forget. So let me challenge you. Stop asking, how do I make her miss me? And start asking, am I living in a way that makes anyone miss me when I'm gone? Because if you're not disciplined, if you're not pursuing goals, if you're not building value in your own life, then why should she miss you? You've given her nothing but your presence. And presence without impact is meaningless. That's the harsh reality, and yes, it's controversial. Some men will hate hearing this because it forces them to take responsibility. It forces them to admit that the problem isn't her, it's them. But if you're serious about changing your life, about changing the way women see you, then you need to swallow that truth right now. Here's where we connect. I want you to comment below and tell me about your experiences. Have you been the man who chased too hard and got ignored? Have you been the man who gave too much and ended up forgotten? Or have you learned how to pull back, create space, and actually feel the shift when she started missing you? Share it. Don't just watch and disappear. Let's build a conversation right here. I'll be reading and I'll be reaching out to connect with some of you directly, because this isn't just about me teaching and you listening. This is about men waking up together. But I'll leave you with this final line. If you keep living like every other man, you'll keep being forgotten like every other man. If you want to be missed, you must first become unforgettable. That's the difference. That's the wake-up call. And that's the truth most men will never hear, unless they're here, right now, ready to change.